200 from Laguna Seca Raceway.
I mean, 6 wins in 1 year. This is a dream come true, and you know, what more can you say?
It seems such a short time ago that Bobby won his first IndyCar race. It was Cleveland, 1982.
Culmination of a lot of dreams, and there's a lot more to do now.
And Bobby Rahal can accomplish a lot more here at Phoenix today. He can clinch the CART championship. Those who may stand in his way, Kevin Kogan, who won his first IndyCar race here earlier this year. And Rick Mears will start outside of row number 1. This is the man of the hour, Bobby Rahal from Dublin, Ohio. He can wrap it up here today with a CART National Driving Championship. We're at Phoenix International Raceway for the next to the last event of the CART PPG IndyCar World Series for 1986. A beautiful day here in the Valley of the Sun. I'm Bob Jenkins along with IndyCar driver Derek Daly. Bobby Rahal can clinch the championship here today. I think you could say that he has momentum on his side.
They say when you're hot, and really the misfortune is really falling on every other driver and team at the moment, and I don't think, barring mechanical failure, that any other driver is going to take this championship from Rahal.
There are several combinations in which Rahal can win the championship here this afternoon. If he wins, in order to stay in the battle for the championship, Michael Andretti must finish 5th. If Rahal finishes 2nd, Michael must finish 8th. If Rahal finishes 3rd, Michael must finish 10th. And if Rahal finishes 4th or below, then Michael Andretti is still in the National Driving Championship. And it's going to be a tough battle for him, but I think he may do it.
I think he will, and I asked him earlier on whether he'd be conservative or not. He said no, he's going to go run from the front. That's what they're used to, that's what they like to do. So Rahal is not going to be conservative.
Well, Larry Newber will be working the pits for us this afternoon. He has some comments on some other drivers, including the other driver on the front row for today's race, Rick Mears. Here's Larry Newber.
Oh, Bob, is this an indication of things to come? Number 3 is number 1, at least at the start of the race. He's on the pole. But up here on the front of this grid are all the people who are vying for the points championship, as well as the man who won here in the spring, Kevin Kogan, and the guy in car number 1. This is the car that won here a year ago at Phoenix, Rick Mears. Rick, this looks like your best chance, maybe accepting Pocono to win a race this year.
Well, it's, you know, hopefully it's going to be a good chance for us. The Pennzoil car is working very well, and the Chevy's running good, so we just want to run all day and see if we can take care of Bobby over there.
Rick, the track seems dramatically different from what it was in the spring.
I think it's just mainly temperature, and, you know, the warm weather and everything has kind of slowed the tracks down a little bit as far as the speed goes, but we're doing a lot of work on the track around here, and it's really looking good.
Well, this is a red and yellow hot front row here in the hot sun of Phoenix.
It's the next to the last race for CART this year. It's our final IndyCar broadcast from Phoenix International Raceway, and it's all being brought to you by Dodge, a performance revolution, and American.
Who wants synthetic?
It is a beautiful day here in the Valley of the Sun, 78 degrees, low humidity only 24%. The winds are from the northwest at 5 miles an hour. No chance of rain. Well, it's about that time. Let's go down to the start-finish line, and Carl Eller, the chairman and chief executive officer of Circle K Corporation, for those words.
This is the greatest thrill of my life, racing fans. Gentlemen, start your engine.
That 23 cars come to life and get set to go, and the drivers also prepare for this grueling contest. 200 laps on this D-shaped 1-mile oval. Ari Lyondike is in the field. He'll be carrying our in-car camera. There is Rick Mears, who starts row number 1, and there is the man, Bobby Rahal from Dublin, Ohio, the pole sitter and the driver who can clinch the driving championship this afternoon. And there is Ed Pym, who'll start in 11th position in the Skoll March. As the cars get ready to roll out, here is the starting lineup for the Circle K Fiesta Bowl 200. On the pole in the Budweiser True Sports March, car number 3 from Dublin, Ohio, Bobby Rahal. He qualified at 162.918 miles an hour, not quite a track record. Outside of the front row will be Rick Mears from Bakersfield, California, in the number 1 Pennzoil Z7 March. In row number 2, on the inside, will be Danny Sullivan from Louisville, Kentucky, in the Miller American March, car number 4. outside of row number 2. From Nazareth, Pennsylvania, Michael Andretti in the number 18 Craco STP lean machine. The third row consists of his father, Mario Andretti, in the Newman Haas Hanna Car Wash Lola car number 5. Outside of the third row, the guy who won earlier this year here at Phoenix, Kevin Cogan, in the number 711 March. In the fourth row will be Emerson Fittipaldi. He won earlier this year at Elkhart Lake in car number 20, the Marlboro March. Also in row number 4 on the outside will be Roberto Guerrero in the True Value Emerson March car number 2. The fifth row consists of Johnny Rutherford from Fort Worth, Texas in the Vermont American March car number 21. And outside of row number 5 will be number 30, the Domino's Pizza Lola, driven by Al Unser Jr. from Albuquerque, New Mexico. In the sixth row will be Ed Pym in the number 66 Skull March. Outside of the sixth row, Roberto Moreno in the number 9 5-star Marketing Lola. The seventh row, Ari Lyondike in car number 61, the Race for Life March. And outside of row number 7 will be Jeff Brabham in the Valvoline Spirit Lola. The eighth row in the Duracell Copper Top Lola, car number 22, Raul Boisel. Outside of the eighth row from Fort Worth, Texas, A.J. Foyt in car number 14, the Gilmore Copenhagen March. The ninth row, Jacques Villeneuve in the number 71 Living Well Fitness March. Outside the ninth row in the Schaefer Machinist Union car number 55, Johnny Parsons. The 10th row, Tom Sneva in the Circle K Skull Bandit March, car number 33, and Jan Lammers in the number 59 Schaefer Machinist Eagle. The 11th row consists of Dennis Firestone in the Raynor Lola, car number 36. Outside of the 11th row in the leader car March, number 24, Gary Bettenhausen. And in row number 12 will be Rocky Moran, car number 56, the Genesee Beer Wagon March. He was added to the field as a promoter's option.
Michael Andretti, this is Derek Daly, the ESPN booth. Do you read me? Is everything okay for the start of this race? Michael, everything seems to be fine. The tires are warmed up. Is everything all right? Over.
Everything's fine right now, but, we'll see what happens when the green falls.
Well, there must be a tremendous amount of pressure under Michael Andretti, who has to finish well in order to stay in the battle for the national championship. Bobby Rahal, on the other hand, is going to be out for the win, but he has the points lead and a little bit of breathing room.
The interesting thing of Michael's car also, he had a big crash here in practice on Friday. This, in fact, is his backup car. But to show how professional his team is, he was immediately right on the pace in this backup car. And what I'd like to do is try and get contact with our other in-car camera, Roberto Guerrero. Roberto, this is Derek Daly in the ESPN booth. Do you read me? Is everything set for your car for the start of this race? Okay, we have a little bit of breakup on Roberto's radio at the moment, but he did say that everything is fine. They obviously use this warm-up lap to get everything up to working temperature, to relax in the car, to loosen off all the muscles that may be tight. And the most important thing is to warm up the rear tires and the front tires, obviously, of course.
Well, if there were surprises in the starting field, I would think it would have to be Tom Sneva's poor performance, qualifying about 11 miles an hour off the pole sitting speed, starting in 19th spot. Johnny Rutherford, on the other hand, a good starting position at 9th. The field comes out of the fourth turn looking for green. They get it. The Phoenix 200 is underway.
Another copybook start by Bobby Rahal. Just maintained his inside position on that starting grid, and we have a crash already at turn 1.
Two cars are into the wall, and A.J. Foyt is one of them.
And Jan Lammers in the Eagle. This is the second race the Eagle has run this year, but A.J. Foyt will not be impressed. I'm sure the young new driver will get most of the blame for this incident. We didn't quite see how it started, but we will have a little replay here later on.
See the Horton medical crew going out to assist the drivers getting out of their cars. Jan Lammers has already stepped out of his machine. A.J. Foyt is still in his car, and he is being assisted there.
Foyt started this race in 16th position. Wasn't happy. We can pick it up here. All the cars go down through the first turn. Now there's quite a gaggle of cars here. It's quite difficult to see what happens. We see the car spin there. That's Lammers. Lammers spins, loses it. Foyt comes up on the outside, has no place to go. Foyt's completely committed, nowhere to go. collects Lammers.
I believe that AJ was the one to lose it initially, Derek. If we look at it again, I think that will confirm that AJ is the one that lost it and spun, and Lammers was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
That's right indeed. In fact, it was AJ. The sun was in her eyes as we looked down towards turn 1. So Jan Lammers is the innocent party here now. I'm surprised that Foyt would take such a chance on the first lap to risk a spin such as this. Now, an interesting thing I found when I drove 3 races as substitute for Ed Pym, these new radial tires take a long time to heat up. And the first lap, the first corner at Saint Air, we saw Dennis Firestone spin on cold tires. And I wouldn't mind suggesting that Foyt perhaps didn't realize how long it takes to get these tires up to working temperature, because he's been out of IndyCar racing for some time now.
There's Jan Lammers, who is walking back to his pit area. And it appeared to me as if Lammers took the hardest shot against the wall, but he obviously is okay. But we are under yellow on the very first lap of this race at Phoenix, and we'll be right back. Back in Phoenix, Arizona, and here are some of the sights and sounds of the area around the racetrack, which is located to the southwest of the city of Phoenix itself. And there is AJ Foyt, who is walking back to his pit area after having spun and made contact with the wall in turn number 1 on the very first lap. There's a shot from the mountain, which is outside of turns number 3 and 4, giving us a good aerial view of this racetrack. And you can see right there that this is not a true oval. There is a dog leg in the back stretch area, and it's considered a D-shaped racetrack. The pace car is leading the field through turns 3 and 4 at the moment. We will complete this time around lap number 5 and still have safety equipment over there in the first and second turn areas, cleaning up that crash that involved AJ Foyt and Jan Lammers. And Rick Mears is coming in for a stop.
This is a continuation of the bad luck that Mears seems to have had. Now, the mechanics instantly work on the rear of the car as if it's an engine problem.
It apparently
yes, it is an engine problem. They're taking the rear bodywork off. Now, Mears has had one of those seasons. Everything that goes wrong with his car. I mean, we've seen him in the pit so many times. He's been competitive so many times, but he has had a very, very difficult season because he's been trying to develop 2 different cars. This car here we see is the March chassis with the Chevrolet engine, but he has also raced and tested and brought along the PC-15 chassis. And really trying to develop 2 cars and race is a very, very difficult assignment for him. So Rick Mears, again, misfortune on lap 3 in this race.
Well, let's go down to the pit area with Larry Newber, and he is with AJ Foyt.
Boy, I'll tell you, if somebody had told me 20 years ago I'd be talking to you without even 1 lap completed in a race, I'd have said, no way. But here we are, your side.
Well, it's been a weekend. I just got in hard and jumped the back end out. When I first got here, you know, the first day I made 1 hot lap, the car caught fire and burned it down. The next day I run 2 laps and for qualifying, and we burned the piston, and it's just been one of them weekends. I haven't run a total of 10 laps.
AJ, I also heard a story that you had the bodywork off the car doing some repairs, and somebody even drove over the body.
Well, that just goes to show you how it can be. The bodywork is sitting off the car, and a lady dropped her purse. When she did, it fell on the accelerator, run over broke the left side of the body and the wing off and everything, so they had to repair all that. So it's just been one of them weekends that I can't believe, but it's happened.
AJ, getting down to matters that might have caused the incident, you know, you haven't had as much experience on the new radial tires. Do you think that was a factor in this particular situation?
No, the tires were working real super. That was not it. I just got in a little hard, and we made some spring changes last night, and I stiffened up the rear end because it's pushing, and I had no practice with it, and I was a little too stiff, and it just didn't get the bite. That's all. It wasn't the tires' fault.
I guarantee you, despite all the rumors, he's here for keeps. There's part of the story is that he's bought a Porsche for next year.
Talk about things going wrong all weekend. That seems to be the case with AJ Foyt, and so he retires early from the competition, and we are back underway with the green flag flying. Here is Bobby Rahal really stretching out the advantage now on Kevin Cogan.
Kevin Cogan, of course, coming here as the reigning champion as such. He did win the first race of this season here, and Kevin Kogan really would like to make up some prize money here, because the CART officials lightened his wallet by $5,000 over an incident that happened at Laguna Seca. So Kevin Kogan is in an aggressive mood here as Mario takes third position from his son Michael. So Michael not exactly handling as he would like in this early stages.
Mario just shot to the inside of son Michael at the end of the back stretch area going into turn number 3, and he took over that third spot. Michael Andretti drops back to fourth now as Mario, who was on the pole last weekend at Laguna Seca, is looking good here in the early stages of this race. Michael Andretti is back to fourth, and fifth is Danny Sullivan, sixth Roberto Guerrero, seventh is Al Unser Jr., in eighth would be Ed Pym, ninth is Johnny Rutherford, and 10th is Emerson Fittipaldi. There's our in-car camera. This is in the Ari Lyondike machine as he goes through turn number 1 and onto the backstretch area, the dog leg. There is a dog leg right there as you once again make a left-hand turn. Now going into turn number 3, Ari Lyondike carrying our in-car camera.
That's Ari trying to follow closely Jacques Villeneuve in car 71. You can see the way Ari's head bobs and bounces around as he gets into this turbulent air, gets on the brakes and then rounding turns 1 and 2 here.
Ray Hall is the leader as he is about to lap some of the slower traffic already with only 12 laps completed. Dennis Firestone will be lapped here. Following and lapping Firestone also is Kevin Kogan.
Rahal beginning to stretch his lead now. He's probably got 2 seconds of an advantage over Kevin Kogan, and this lapped traffic could cause some problems. Now Kogan will not want to let Rahal get away because this is such a short circuit. He can easily put a lap on the field, so Kogan will have to deal with this lapped traffic as efficiently and as easily as Rahal seemed to do when he came upon them.
Rocky Moran and Dennis Firestone are lapped down to the field already as Ray Hall once again moves through corner number 4 onto the straightaway. Several improvements at this racetrack even since the spring race. They have put an inside wall completely around the track, as you can see right there, and in addition to that they have built a footbridge, and that allows the spectators to move from the infield to the outside of the racetrack. That is in corner number 4, the area that Ray Hall is approaching. There it was. Footbridge in the 4th corner.
People often ask, how can Rahal have such an advantage? Has he got a better car? Has he got a better engine? You have to remember, at 200 miles an hour, Rahal's car may only be a 1/10 of a second a lap faster. Now, we can hardly measure this, but a 1/10 of a second a lap. Go by 10 times. We have a little bit of an incident here. Rocky Moran has made contact with something. The right front suspension and front wing is broken. He will make his way back, and in fact we're still under green. But I was saying about Rahal, if he has a 1/10 of a second a lap advantage over the next car within 10 laps, he's got a full second, and a full second at 200 miles an hour is an enormous amount of space between him and the second place car.
Well, it's about a 2.3 second interval between first and second right now, and that's down a little bit from what it was a couple of laps ago. It was above 3 seconds a few laps ago. Rocky Moran into the pits. He is climbing out of that machine, and here comes Ed Pym in for a stop.
Ed Pym in the second Skoll car here. He seems to have a puncture in that left rear. The reason we can tell that as soon as the left rear loses air, the right front wheel picks itself up off the ground, actually doesn't spin at all. So Ed Pym, a very unfortunate stop because he was running very, very strongly all weekend here. Started in 11th position and really wanted a good, consistent run here, but an unfortunate start for Ed Pym.
There he is, though, getting the service completed on that car and moving back onto the racetrack. Ed Pym from Dublin, Ohio, rejoins the fray. 18 laps completed. Rick Mears still struggling out there. Let's get an update from Larry Newberg.
Bob, it's more than struggling. They really are disappointed down here because they lost 2 laps. It was a spark box problem. It's not a problem that anybody is unaccustomed to. It's reasonably routine, but it's mighty expensive on a short track like this when the laps go by so quickly. 2 laps down, brand new spark box, and Rick's hopes for his first win for 1986 may be over already.
Well, he's got one more chance after today to keep this streak of 8 years in a row of winning at least one race. He has not won a race this year and only has now Miami to do so, and Mears is coming in for a second time. And let's go down to Larry for a call on what's going on.
Well, Rick is rolled to a stop down there in the pits, and I'll tell you what, they're not acting too frantically at all. It may be terminal. The engine has been shut off. They're not doing any work on the tires. The bonnet is beginning to come off, so maybe it was more than just a spark box. Normally when you replace those, your problem is solved, but Rick is shaking his head no. They're saying no to tires. They're getting ready to push the car behind the pit wall. And oh, I'll tell you, when somebody drops out, particularly when he's one of the front runners who has a real chance of winning, it's always a big disappointment. But for Rick, as we mentioned at the top of the show, this looked like his best chance outside of Pocono of 1986, but it's over.
Rick Mears is out of the race. A.J. Foyt is out of the race in the first 19 laps of this event, but Bobby Rahal is still very much in, and in fact making a shambles of the field at the moment. It's about a 1.3-second advantage he has over Kevin Cogan. Michael Andretti third, Mario is fourth, Danny Sullivan fifth. At Phoenix after this. Phoenix, Arizona, and at the base of those mountains, Phoenix International Raceway. That's where we are today for the Circle K Fiesta Bowl 200. Our Napa mid-race recap shows you that the leader at the halfway point, Michael Andretti, the average speed 132.405. 65 laps is how many that Michael has led. There has been one caution period for a total of 6 laps. That involved a crash involving A.J. Foyt and Jan Lammers. We've had 3 lead changes, 3 leaders, and 19 cars are still running, but only 2 on the lead lap, and Michael is about to dispose of Bobby Rahal and put him a lap down. It's been a tremendous race so far by Michael Andretti. Out of the contest, Jan Lammers and A.J. Foyt because of the incident in turn 1 on the first lap. Rocky Moran dropped out with suspension problems, and Rick Mears has dropped out of the race because of electrical problems. So we will be back with 108 laps completed now, and there are the top 5 in our IndyCar race this afternoon. Back at Phoenix, look at this. Michael Andretti is about to lap Bobby Rahal, the second-place car. He can't get the job done. He's been trying numerous laps. Now he has to get on the brakes hard as Johnny Rutherford got a little squirrely, and Michael had to get on the brakes hard to avoid running into the rear end of Johnny Rutherford, and now that has put some distance between Rahal and Andretti.
We've had 6 laps of this. Michael crawled all over the back of Rahal, trying to find a way past, trying to put him a lap down. Rahal did everything he could to hold him back. Now, Rutherford, it looked as if he moved out of the groove to let Rahal by. Michael had to jump on the brakes. Lucky he held on to it, but now he's got to make up the distance again. I think he's going to make it up in about 3 or 4 laps.
Well, let's go back and look at it once again. Down in turn number 1, Johnny Rutherford is on the high side. So is Michael Rahal on the inside.
Rutherford loses it there, collects it, gets on the brakes himself, and Michael has nothing to do except get on the brakes, and Rahal goes.
Rutherford with a nice job of driving, saving that car. Here it is from another angle.
Loses control, Rutherford on the way in. Now he gets in trouble again, gets another wiggle, gets on the brakes, moves out of the groove. You'll see the dust he kicks up when he's out of the groove. Michael can do nothing except get on the brakes, and Rahal gets away. But we can see here, within 2 laps, Michael is under his rear wing once again.
Now, again, this is not for the lead. Michael is trying to put a lap on second place Bobby Rahal. Let's see if he does it. They're in the dogleg on the backstretch. No, not yet. Into turn 3. Rahal holds him off. But boy, Michael is just dominating this event here. Now, if the race were to end at this point, as we continue to wait and see whether Michael will put a lap on him, and going into the first turn, he does. He puts a lap on Rahal. If the race ended right now, Bobby would have 176, Michael 171 points, and Danny Sullivan 139. So the battle for the national championship would go down to the final race in Miami in a couple of weeks.
This Craco STP lean machine team really have done a good job here, because it's unusual for a car that's basically the same as everybody else to have such an advantage on an oval track like this. So Barry Green and the crew have done an excellent job to give Michael a car that he can confidently pass cars inside or outside wherever he wants.
That's an interesting statistic there. Michael Andretti has been the leader at the halfway point in both of the races that he has won.
Well, I think it's looking very strong for him to do exactly the same thing here again. When a driver in a car has such an advantage, that really is only mechanical failure that will take the race win away from him.
once again, Kevin Kogan and Emerson Fittipaldi are running right together on the racetrack in this battle for third. Kogan in third and Fittipaldi in fourth. We understand that Ari Lyondike in car number 61, who was carrying our in-car camera, but we had a few problems with it. He has been black flagged because of some spray. We continue to watch this battle for third position. Kevin Kogan now to the inside of Jeff Brabham in car number 8, and Emerson Fittipaldi not too far behind. The latest word on Jim Busby Jr., who had that horrible crash in the ARS race, is very good. Jim Busby Jr. has a concussion. He has bruises on his left hip and his left chest. However, he is reported to be in good condition, alert and awake at Good Samaritan Hospital in Phoenix. And that is the best news that we've heard in a long time, because that was an awful-looking accident.
That really is very, very good news, because he was definitely a bit of a star in the short period that he was in the race, but he had a horrendous accident. He really hit the outside retaining wall extremely hard, so we're glad to see that he is in reasonably good condition.
Kevin Kogan blasting off of turn number 4. Now going to the inside of Jeff Brabham. And Emerson Fittipaldi hanging right there with Kevin, not letting him get too far away. The standings, Michael Andretti, Bobby Rahal, then Kevin Kogan, then Emerson Fittipaldi, Mario Andretti, and following Mario would be Danny Sullivan. And there are Mario and Danny Sullivan not too far behind. There's Mario, and coming into the screen there is Danny Sullivan.
Mario, number 5, running in 5th place. The Lola, not really the car to have this year. It was very, very strong last year. A lot of Lola customers lined up to buy their new machinery. But in all fairness, the Marches seem to just have had the little necessary edge all this year. So we haven't seen as much of a sparkle from the dad, Mario, as we did last year.
Emerson Fittipaldi is coming in. We understand he has a flat, making an premature pit stop here. It's not quite time for the second round of pit stops. Well, it's pretty close, 126 laps, and you figure that they're going to have to pit about every 60 to 65, so he's not too far off schedule.
It's again another 4-tire stop. Now, the last time they changed all 4 tires, it was to Fittipaldi's advantage, because he was faster after the pit stop than he was beforehand. He was able to catch Kevin Kogan and pass him and move into that 4th position. So Emerson at this stage will hope that the staggers and the condition of those tires are at least as good as what he's just taken off.
Michael Andretti continues to motor around the racetrack, and he is about to put a second lap on the 5th running Danny Sullivan. They come off of corner number 4. Roberto Moreno is right there also. Michael moving to the inside of him, going into corner number 1, and still looking to put Danny Sullivan 2 laps down.
These top teams generally go about some aerodynamic changes and developments and improvements among themselves, and Michael's car, the one that he crashed on Friday, had the latest trick underbodies, side pods, to create more downforce and theoretically to create more speed. Now this car, which was his spare car, was a standard march out of the factory. So if this is how well they can make this car go, I'm glad he didn't have a new body.
Now he has just come on like gangbusters in this race. I have never seen, I don't think, anybody dominate a short track race like this in a long time as Michael has. But anything can happen, and we are definitely not to the point of a checkered flag yet. We are 130 laps into this event with 70 to go. Now ESPN and CART present a track fact.
A lot of you will know, when you go to start your engine on a cold morning, it can be difficult sometimes. Well, a racing engine is exactly the same. Now, what the Pace Skoal team have done is they have come up with a very unique engine warming device. And what it is, it's a small pump that sits on top of the engine. It pumps the water through a heater element system. This brings the water up to working temperature. It's then pumped all the way through the engine, and after a small length of time, this engine can be heated up to working temperature without ever firing. Now, if you had one of these on your street car at home, it would mean it would start very easily, but also the heater would work immediately.
All right, there's the word on making engines warm, and the word from Phoenix International Raceway is Things are hot here for Michael Andretti. He has a one-lap lead on Bobby Rahal. Back in a moment.
Cars.
The second routine series of pit stops being made here. Michael Andretti is in. Bobby Rahal has already been in. Michael Andretti is in. There goes Michael away in 19.4 seconds. Back out onto the racetrack, but Bobby Rahal came in before Michael and has already gone back out there.
Just a 3-tire change for Michael. He's obviously happy with that left front, otherwise they would have changed it, but just 3 tires and a full load of fuel for Michael to run the rest of this distance.
There is Al Unser Jr. getting service on his machine.
Al's obviously having a handling problem. We saw Dennis Swan stand in front of him there and ask him which of the wings, and he did make an adjustment to one of those wings, either took some out if the car was too loose, or gave him more downforce if the car was doing too much push.
He is running in 9th, or was before he came in for the stop. Al Unser Jr., who at this time last year was battling with his father, Al Sr., for the national championship. Roberto Guerrero comes in the True Value Emerson March. Car number 2, Roberto started in 8th place, and he is currently being shown in 8th position. So he's running the same place that he started. Looks like they may be making a wing adjustment to the front end of that car also.
That's right. He has a more serious handling problem because he adjusted both front wings, the left and the right. Normally, one wing would make enough of a change.
And Johnny Rutherford and Kevin Kogan are both also in for pit stops. The crew going to work on Kevin's car. He was running 3rd before he came in. They're making some tire change and also an adjustment at the front end of the car to help the handling. The fuel being put in there, it's topped off, and Kevin Kogan is pushed back onto the track.
So of all the cars that we've seen to make these pit stops during this round, the only car that hasn't made an adjustment to the chassis is Michael Andretti.
And it appears as if he doesn't need any chassis adjustment because he is in good shape at the moment. Michael Andretti from Nazareth, Pennsylvania.
Running second at the moment is Danny Sullivan. Now, Danny was one of the last of the front-running cars to pit for the first round of pit stops. So Sullivan obviously has better fuel mileage than most of the other front runners. He's currently in 2nd position, but will make his pit stop and will drop down in that top group.
Derek, how do you explain the dominance of this car? It's his backup car. It wasn't the one that he wanted to race with, but he has just been so strong in this race. Can you account for it?
I've spoken to Barry Green and to Steve Horn and several other of the crew chiefs to try and determine what makes these cars so dominant sometimes, and really the answers they gave me sometimes staggered me. They measure the ride heights to a 1/16 of an inch. They measure the springs accurately. They measure the front wings to a 1/4 of a degree. So really it's how these crew chiefs control the chassis. The driver can only do a certain amount of work. He can only drive what the crew chief gives him. But it's their monitoring of how these cars react under situations that makes the likes of Michael and Rahal so good. And we're down to Larry Newber, who's in the pits with a comment.
Derek, I just want to bring you up to date on some of the people that dropped out. R.A. Lyondike eventually dropped out with a bad vibration after 2 or 3 pit stops. Dennis Firestone had a broken water line. Jacques Villeneuve had an engine let go. A guy who one time was the track record holder here at Phoenix International. Danny Sullivan has come into the pits, standing one of the last of the really hot cars who are pitted here. And Tom Sneva made 6 pit stops to try and get over that problem that he had with vibration and oversteer. And the classified reason for getting out officially was terminal oversteer. So Sneva, who finished 2nd here in the spring, as well as 2nd at the Milwaukee race, has his hopes dashed here. You know, Derek, talking about Kevin Kogan, who just pitted a few minutes ago, one of the last of the lead cars to come in. You know, I ran down an unofficial standings for the CART point standings for 1986 and broke out road course and ovals. And you know what? If this was an entirely oval track circuit, Kevin Kogan is the points leader.
That's right, Larry. I can remember a couple of seasons ago a comment being made about the CART Series winner being the true motorsport champion because he has to be versatile not only on road courses but also super speedways and oval tracks such as Phoenix. So although he may be champion on an oval track, he's got to do it on road courses too.
Now, this is the way the standings would be were we to count only oval tracks in the CART PPG IndyCar World Series. Kogan would have the points lead. Rahal would be second, then Michael, Rutherford, and Emerson Fittipaldi. On the other hand, if we were to count only the road courses, Danny Sullivan would be in the lead with 102, followed by Michael, Rahal, Al Jr., and Mario. So you can see that it's a combination, and it's not only that, but it's a consistency between both road courses and ovals that allows a driver to be in the points lead or in contention for the national driving title. 147 laps are completed. The leader of the Circle K Fiesta Bowl 200 is Michael Andretti. Earlier you saw ESPN's Mountain Cam, and now we present ESPN's Cactus Cam as we are in the desert outside of Phoenix, Arizona at Phoenix International Raceway for the Circle K Fiesta Bowl 200 IndyCar race, the next to the last stop on the CART PPG IndyCar World Series for 1986. Bobby Rahal had a chance to wrap up the championship going in, but Michael Andretti is dominating the race. Let's go down to Larry Newber for a comment.
Well, Bob, there is some joy in the team pits that you just mentioned, but down here in the Kevin Kogan area, a guy who won this race, really had his own private line in the spring, and a third going into today, but it ended early.
Yeah, we were having a little trouble in traffic. I think on an open track we were as fast as anybody, but for some reason I just couldn't get the brakes in the traffic. 7-Eleven car was running real good. I was real happy with everything. It's just, you know, I wanted to get a lap back on Michael, but I just couldn't catch him in traffic.
Kevin, I can't let an interview with you go by without asking you about that high line. I know everybody likes to run up there, but your line is something special. You really feel comfortable up there along the wall coming out of 2 and 4, don't you?
Well, you know, it seems like everybody doesn't want to give you any room on the low side, so if you want to pass, I made almost all my passes on the outside coming off the 4 today, and it's, I think more than anything, you just scare them and they give you away.
Well, Kevin Kogan almost won this year's Indianapolis 500, as all of you know. And Kevin, I want to say, I know it's difficult to say most improved, but when you compare the results from years past, you got to be one of the most improved of this year.
Well, my driving is getting better all the time. I'm looking forward to next year. You know, this year is over as far as the championship goes, and we're still looking, you know, to finish in the top 5. But as far as that goes, I'm just looking forward to next year because we've got a real shot at doing something.
Do you have paper with Pat Patrick yet for 1987?
Oh, yeah.
Kevin Kogan, he'll be back, and I guarantee you when it comes to Phoenix, he will really be back.
Kevin is looking forward to next season. The good thing from his point of view is that he's staying with Patrick Racing, because for a driver to move around with so many different teams, as Kevin has done over the last couple of years, it loses his stability, and you need time to work with teams and engineers and mechanics, and the best thing that could have happened to him is for him to stay with the same group of people and learn and grow with them.
Michael Andretti leads this race with a 1-lap advantage on Bobby Rahal. Danny Sullivan is also a lap down in 3rd. 4th is Emerson Fittipaldi, 2 laps down. Mario Andretti is 5th, also 2 laps down. Johnny Rutherford being shown in 6th. He is 5 laps down to the leader. Then Roberto Guerrero in 7th. Ed Pym in 8th. Al Unser Jr. in 9th. Jeff Brabham running 10th. Kevin Kogan has fallen out of the race, and so he will continue to move down this serial scoring, but at the moment he is being shown in 11th position with Raul Boisel 12th. 13th, Roberto Moreno. 14th is Johnny Parsons. Ari Leyendijk has fallen out of competition. Jacques Villeneuve has also fallen out of contention, and so has several other drivers, including Rick Mears, A.J. Foyt, and Jan Lammers.
Well, Michael is here making it look as if he's in a different class of car, because he is so much better than everybody else. He makes it look easy at the moment. You see here he pulls up alongside Johnny Parsons, gets in behind his wing, pulls out, and just shoots by him. It's like as if he's in another gear. So it's good for a driver when he gets a car this good and has a day like this. It's great for his confidence, and it's fantastic for the team. And it's coming, from their point of view, just to the right time to make their bid for the championship. So Rahal is the one that's had the momentum, that's had all the good luck going his way. Maybe Braco think that their momentum is about to start. If it is, they picked a good time.
And we see Bobby Rahal and Danny Sullivan are now in a tussle for position as suddenly Danny Sullivan has caught and may be about to pass Bobby Rahal for that second spot. Rahal holds him off going into turn number 1. And we have a race here for you as Michael Andretti dominates, but still a good tussle here for second position. Sullivan looking like he can take that position at any moment. Let's see what happens as they come out of the 4th turn. They have Raul Boisel running somewhat ahead of them. Sullivan goes to the inside into turn number 1, and he gets second spot. Danny Sullivan to second, Rahal back to third.
Rahal obviously having handling difficulties because a man that has as good a counter team as him does not give up positions that easily. So Rahal, we don't know what's wrong. We suspect something is wrong because Steve Horn is too busy to talk to us. That means that he's got more to do during this race than he's had normally. So Rahal is obviously having some sort of difficulty, and now he's down to 3rd place. Now, for the sake of the championship at Miami, he's got to stay as high in this race as he can to make himself a little bit more comfortable, at least at Miami.
There you can see there are 35 laps to go in this one as Michael Andretti has the lead with now Sullivan second and Bobby Rahal running in 3rd position. Well, the driver of the Race for Life March is Ari Leiner. David Hasselhoff, the night rider on television, is also associated with this effort. Race for Life is an organization that grants last wishes for terminally ill children. It's good to see an organization like this in IndyCar racing. Bob Jenkins, Derek Daly, and Larry Newber back at Phoenix International Raceway for the Circle K Fiesta Bowl 200 IndyCar race, next to the last on the schedule. And Michael Andretti is well in the lead by a full lap over Danny Sullivan and Bobby Rahal. And the laps are clicking down. 171 have been completed, only 29 more to go. As you can see, the NFL scores from the day. Seattle beating, or at least leading, the New York and the National Hockey League also with the game today. The Rangers playing the Islanders and the Rangers leading at the moment. All of these sports stories and scores on SportsCenter later tonight. We'll be on the air live Saturday, October 25th at 7:30 Eastern Time with a tremendous matchup involving 2 of the nation's top 20 teams, Auburn versus Mississippi State, as CFA action continues here on ESPN. That's Saturday night, October 25th at 7:30 Eastern Time, 4:30 Pacific Time, Auburn versus Mississippi State. Andretti just continues to circle this racetrack and experience no problems whatsoever with that car.
Danny Sullivan is running in 2nd position, and he has improved his car's handling since his last pit stop because we saw him go by Rahal. But he's now a lap down, so really the chances of Danny winning the race with sheer speed are very, very slim, even though he obviously has made some chassis adjustments and improvements. But unless Michael has mechanical difficulty, Sullivan is not going to catch him on the track.
Michael Andretti is averaging 138.73 miles an hour. There's some statistics on Danny Sullivan. 26 starts, 3 wins, and there once again is Michael Andretti, who is caught in a little bit of traffic. Raul Boisel ahead of him on the racetrack. Michael will move to the outside, going out of corner number 1 to lap Raul Boisel.
We saw Michael come down to the inside of turn 2 there and then simply change his direction, move to the outside and blow by Raul Boisel. Now he comes up along the behind the Gallus car of Roberto Moreno. Moreno is the smallest man racing IndyCars at the moment. He almost won at Elkhart Lake a couple of races ago until he was attacked with about 3 or 4 laps to go by Villeneuve. But Michael Andretti passes him, makes it look easy again, and streaks away through turns 3 and 4 to start lap 177.
Now let's go back and see besides Michael Andretti, the leader. He once again has a 2-lap advantage on the rest of the field. Now, this is not in any order that they're running, but this is the way they're running on the racetrack. There is Roberto Moreno in the number 9 5-star marketing Gallus car, and he is being shown at the moment in 12th position.
He has shown tremendous potential, but really hasn't put the package together yet. Rick Gallus picked him out of obscurity almost from European racing last year, took him to Elkhart Lake in particular, and he sat on the front row of the grid. And here's another driver who has come from foreign fields, Raul Bozel from Brazil. Now, Raul, like myself, has come through the ranks of European Formula 3 racing up into Formula 1, raced with the March company in Formula 1 and the Ligier Formula 1 team, and is trying to make the name for himself here in IndyCars. And I think he is the man who has saved Dick Simon Racing this year because he's been so good and so consistent.
He's finished 11th of 15 races, and he is being shown in 11th position at the moment. Here's the number 66 car, driven by Ed Pym, the Skoll Long Cut Curve Motorsports March car that Derek drove on several occasions this year.
That's right. Ed has done a super job all weekend. He had a major problem. We see Bozel blows. Bozel's day is done. A major blow on his engine. I don't think he knows it yet because he hasn't backed off. You can see the plume of smoke get pulled out under the rear wing. Now he sees it. Now he's moved down to the low side of the track. So I don't think that'll bring out a yellow flag. In fact, it has. There is a yellow flag situation as Guerrero comes in for a pit stop.
This is only our second yellow of the entire race. The first was for the accident on lap number 1. Yellow is out. Now let's go to Larry.
Roberto Guerrero has come in, and when you come in this late in the race, obviously it's not something that's planned. You can see them going to the set screws. They're getting ready to take the bonnet off the car. The car's up in the air. They seem to be working with the suspension or a right rear tire that simply will not come off. As the yellow flag comes out, this is somewhat of a break for Guerrero, but certainly not a routine pit stop for him. Roberto continues to rev the engine. He's trying to keep the revs up in that engine so it doesn't misfire any as they continue to do work. Now they're loosening some more of the set screws on the bodywork and beginning to take it off. As you can see, they got the car jacked up in the air. The top comes off. Let's see what they go to. But they're looking at the turbocharger, doing a little bit of experimentation. Some people are putting their hands up like, gee, I don't know what's going on. They may be asking Roberto to shut it off. As the field goes by slowly, they lean in and ask Roberto. He says, geez, I don't know, guys. See if he can do some magic here underneath this yellow flag. But lots of gestures going up as if to say, gee, we don't really know exactly what's wrong, and Roberto shuts off, guys.
All right, it looks like Guerrero is going to drop out of the race, and he was in 9th position when the trouble occurred. We are yellow with 183 laps completed, only 17 to go in this 200 lapper here at Phoenix International Raceway. We'll be back right after this. Oh, Boycel's car is being pushed behind the wall. His blown engine is the reason for the yellow that we are currently experiencing. A look at the top 5 at the moment. The leader, of course, Michael Andretti. Second is Danny Sullivan. Third, Bobby Rahal. Fourth is Emerson Fittipaldi. And fifth is Mario Andretti. Only 15 more laps remaining in this contest. Some of the beautiful scenes surrounding Phoenix International Raceway, located about 16 miles outside of downtown Phoenix. And here's more Phoenix trivia for you. In 1970, while leading the Phoenix 150, Roger McCluskey ran out of fuel, giving the driver his first IndyCar win. Who was it? We'll be back in a moment to answer that question. Well, here's the answer to our second trivia question of the afternoon. Roger McCluskey ran out of fuel here in 1970, giving this driver his first IndyCar win, and it was Sweet Savage, driving a Ford Gurney Eagle, his only IndyCar victory. The yellow flag is still out here at Phoenix. However, we are anticipating a green next time around. That will be on lap 188. We'll have a 12-lap dash to the finish. But Michael Andretti has this race in hand. No question about that. Sullivan, Fittipaldi, and Bobby Rahal are all 1 lap down, second, third, and fourth. So there could be a change of position among those 3. But, boy, Michael Andretti has just been so dominant in this race. The pace car picks up speed in turn number 4. The yellow light on top of the pace car is out. Nick Finoro, the chief starter for championship auto racing teams, waves the green flag, and here we go once again. This has only been our second yellow flag period of the afternoon. We ran a great portion of the race yellow free. It came out first of all on lap number 1 when A.J. Foyt crashed. Crash also involving Jan Lammers, and then for the debris on the racetrack, but now back to green once again.
Michael streaking away as he has done all day, but Barry Green, we are informed, has told Michael not to contest anything under green. In other words, if Sullivan wants to pass, or his dad Mario wants to pass under green, let him go. He's got a full lap advantage. Barry Green does not want Michael to get into any more unnecessary fights with only about 11 laps to go.
Roberto Guerrero was in the pits, but he is back out on the track right now, running very slowly with spark box problems. If the race were to end right now, here would be the points. Rahal with 172, Michael with 171, and Sullivan with 147. So it would be a battle between Rahal and Andretti for the national driving title 2 weeks from this weekend in Miami, Florida. Mario now is right up on the back wing of Michael, and Mario moves to the inside going into turn number 1, and he gets a lap back. That'll put him only 1 lap down now.
It looks as if Michael is definitely responding to his orders from crew chief Barry Green. It also looks as if he may have turned the boost down a little bit, because Mario caught him a lot on that back stretch. Through the turns, Michael was able to hold him off, but along the back stretch on this front straight here, Mario was definitely much faster than Michael. So I think Michael has turned the boost down. He's running consistently. He wants to win this race and do it as easily as he can.
Johnny Rutherford, we're seeing just a little bit of smoke coming from the rear end of that race car. Rutherford has driven a nice, conservative, but well-paced race. He is in 6th spot, but he may not be able to finish because there is obvious smoke coming from the rear of that car. And Roberto Guerrero, who has been in and out, is now in once again, climbing out, and it's going to be all over for Roberto Guerrero.
Again, his day ends early. He has shown flashes of great speed at time. He's had a lot of accidents and a lot of mechanical breakdowns, so Roberto's first win still seems a long way away.
This is our last IndyCar telecast of 1986. We would like to thank all of the CART officials, John Frasco, of course, the chairman of the board, and all the people that we work directly with on a race-to-race basis. John Evenson, the director of communications, and others. We thank you very much for your support and your help this year, and hope that we can continue our association with you. Let's go down to Larry Newber, who has caught up with Roberto Guerrero.
Bob, I just asked Roberto, I said, hey, how about an interview, Roberto? And he looked at me and just kind of shrugged his shoulder and said, well, why not? It's another one.
Well, I'm afraid so. You know, we weren't running really. It seemed like we had a problem. You know, after a few laps on the fresh tires, the tires were going up really bad and the car would get really loose. On fresh tires, we seemed to run half decent, and something went wrong in the engine. I don't know, that took us out of the race.
Roberto, Michael passed you at least twice at speed. That car is really humming and zinging around the turns, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. You know, it's going really well. They're flying out there.
How about next year for Roberto Guerrero and Dan Cotter and True Value? Is everything back in order again for 1987?
Well, we're hoping that we can keep it all together, and there are going to be a lot of changes, hopefully for the better, and hopefully we'll be a little stronger next year.
Well, this is the guy, as we watch Emerson Fittipaldi came in originally from South America, Colombia, moved to Indianapolis for the summers, and now going back home to California for the winter, right?
Yep, yeah, we'll be, after Miami, we'll be stopping for a little while.
Well, Bob and Derek, Emerson Fittipaldi in the pits. Take it away.
Well, Emerson, we assume, is out of fuel because he was coming in, moving the car back and forth, trying to get as much fuel into the fuel pump as possible. They put a little bit more in, we assume, and he's back out there, but it may not be enough for Emerson Fittipaldi to complete this race. There is Michael Andretti, who will come down this time and receive the white flag. He's off of corner number 4. Michael Andretti has one more lap to go, and the Circle K Fiesta Bowl 200 will be his.
He has backed off quite considerably. Danny Sullivan has made up his lap, as well as his dad Mario. We saw him pass him earlier on, but he has backed off quite a bit and is running a very conservative last lap, but he is almost home and dry.
Michael Andretti from Nazareth, Pennsylvania, comes off of the 4th corner and wins the Circle K Fiesta Bowl 200 and keeps his hopes for winning a national driving title alive. Here is Rahal finishing in third position. Danny Sullivan will be scored as in second, we believe, and Mario in fourth and Emerson Fittipaldi in fifth position. What a drive on this Sunday afternoon by Michael Andretti. He was bound and determined to win this race, and he did it.
Michael, this is Derek Daly. Congratulations. I'm at the ESPN booth. Where did you have such a big advantage come from?
No, I think that this cornering was just so good that I could run the most of the race with the boost turned all the way down, so it just everything worked perfect.
Well, we let him celebrate there. We don't really want to bother him anymore, but we heard straight from the man himself. He could run with full boost almost a full day, and he was very, very good through the turn. So Michael Andretti had a good day at the office.
So he has pulled into victory lane, and Larry Nuber is right there. We'll be back to talk with Michael Andretti, the winner here this afternoon, in just a moment.
Michael Andretti still getting some of the plaudits from everybody who's gathered here to welcome into victory lane. This one got away in the spring, but boy, not only did you take it back, you probably disappointed everybody else. You gave nobody else a chance.
I couldn't believe it. You know, I really didn't expect it to be that way, but the car worked beautifully all day. You know, a little bit at the start, it was a little understeer, but after we got that corrected, I mean, it was just on rails, and it really worked well in traffic. I think that's where I got most of the people.
Michael, I think this is also a tribute to the Craco team, because this did not come this week as the primary machine.
That's right. We had some problems where we crashed and right before qualifying, and the Craco team did a great job in getting the spare car identical to the race car, and it ran perfect all day.
Now, what was that situation in the first pit stop? Were you just trying to even things up, give everybody else a chance, run out of fuel?
No, ran out of fuel. We were just serious now.
Bobby Rahal also congratulating Michael and going back to that fuel story.
Yeah, we ran out of gas, and luckily it kicked right over when they went to start it, so I don't think we really lost too much time. You know, it just seemed to be our day today.
Michael, you and I have talked about this many times before, but it bears worth repeating. There is an art to running on these very tight one-mile ovals. It's got something to do with being comfortable, being shoulder to shoulder with people, maybe nudging wheels every now and then, but you're really comfortable on these things.
Yeah, I enjoy them. You know, I enjoy the side-by-side racing, and you know, I think we were one of the first ones to start running upstairs, and the cars really worked well on the outside, and I think that's where we got most of our advantage today.
Well, I think I heard that Bob and Derek say there's maybe a 2-point or 3-point difference in the points. Essentially, it's a tie, so all both you and Bobby have to do is go to Miami and win, right?
This is what we wanted. You know, now we're on schedule again, because we felt that we had to win this race and have Bobby finish at least third or fourth, and that's the way it's working. Let's hope it continues.
Michael Andretti, who today accomplished at least today's goal here at Phoenix.
Thank you, Larry. Congratulations, Michael. And the Winner's Circle interview has been brought to you by Goodyear Eagles. You either have Goodyear Eagles or you need them. And we'll be back with some closing thoughts and review the finishers here in this race at Phoenix today, which was won by Michael Andretti.